Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard brought to you by our sponsor, The Great Game of Business. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks. Welcome, Gene.
Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here. Gene, you wrote a piece for Forbes recently in which you took a look at the ChatGPT App Store for business owners to see if there was anything in there that business owners should know about. What did you find?
Stay away. That's what I found. That's what I found.
Too soon? Too soon?
Too soon. First of all, I want to make sure that this is not a completely negative conversation because, the future is exciting and bright, but that's the future. Let's talk now. So first of all, for those of you guys that are listening and are not, I'm going to insult your intelligence. We hopefully by now know what ChatGPT is. It's the generative AI platform by OpenAI. So in January, they launched their ChatGPT or their GPT store. Because remember, ChatGPT is just it's an application that's built on a large language model, basically a database, a very large database. So they license out. You can use that database to create your own GPTs and your own applications on top of it.
Can you give us an example of what that would be? Why would someone do that?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm glad one of my issues in the article was that I was trying to figure out what business use this would have for me. You know what I mean? Like, why would I even do this? But I'll give you an example. So there are some applications on the GPT store that are very, very specific, for example, to research. So one is called like Consensus. And Consensus is like a research app. It's a GPT app, third-party app. And theoretically, like if you're an academic, you can ask it very detailed questions that will give you very detailed answers with citations and resources and sources because it's got its own proprietary data. That's the example of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like a specified application that's using its own data. I'll give you another example. I sell Zoho CRM. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me see if there's any Zoho GPT apps. And there was. So you could go onto this, like a Zoho GPT app on the store, and it's free, by the way, and ask it questions, and it will give you detailed answers to the point where it'll give you like scripts for automation and workflows and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing about that, though. I did that with Zoho, and I even did it with Consensus. And like, I'm not convinced I can't get the answers elsewhere. Like I could get similar answers about Zoho from Zoho's website, and even GPT itself, Chat GPT. I mean, it's pretty deep, man. So like, I don't know if you need like a third party app. I mean, it seems like it has a lot of the answers already there if you dig deep enough, but maybe these apps themselves just make it easier for you to get the information. I don't know. But I can tell you this much, it doesn't, the apps that I played with, I mean, I'll give you another example. I picked this one app to do like a text to video. And they claim to be, you give it some instructions. So, okay, so my company sells CRM software. So I'm like, okay, give me a 2-minute video on what is CRM and why it's important. And, make this video, targeted towards small business owners. And the app asked me some more questions and then finished and said, great, it's creating the video. And it created the video, and it was just a weird ass video. It was just,
In what way?
The people in the video were weird looking, like clearly AI generated. You know what I mean? They had like logos and graphics and things in it that had trademarks on top of them. Do you know what I mean? Like that just showed up. The voiceover was like clearly like a computer generated voice. I mean, it wasn't Hal from, the movie, 2001, but it was, you know what I mean? Like it was just a weird video. And like, I'm like, I could never use this video, on my site. It's just bizarre. So it would take a lot of post-production, and then I tried another app on the App Store to do org chart. Like it was a graphics, like it makes all, flow charts. And I'm like, cool, man, let me have it, do like an org chart for a client of mine with 100 employees. And I started doing it, and then it hit a wall and basically just took me to its main site and said, hey, you want to go any further with this? Buy our service. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like,
it was like a tease.
Yeah, it was like a tease to bring me in there. So I tried out like a dozen different apps. None of them were like really ready for prime time. None of them delivered 100%. They got you off to a good start. They got you like 80% there. Like the org chart.
It didn't sound like 80% from the way you described it.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. But it's clearly you have to get like a human involved. You have to sign up for another service, or you have to get a human involved to finish it and take it over the goal line. And it was just like, I don't know. I guess, maybe some business owners, if you're like a freelancer or an independent person with some extra time on your hands and you really want to monkey around with this stuff, you can get something that's fairly decent. But in the end, it's just not exactly there yet. But you can see the future and where it's going. So it's exciting.
In the piece, you compared it to the to Apple's iPhone App Store back in 2007 or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what that was like back then.
Yeah.
What was it like back? I mean, was it bad?
Yeah. I mean, like Apple, they came out with the iPhone, and then they opened up the App Store, and for a couple of years there was like a bunch of shitty apps on the App Store that didn't do much or were kind of a waste of time.
That's why I don't remember it.
Yeah, and then Apple got it to act together and really started vetting the apps. And then, by the way, that's the other thing. There's the security and privacy issues. Like, you can add GPT apps to the custom store. Like, just you can do it. Like, there's like 6 steps to do it, and it can be anybody. So, Vladimir Putin can be adding apps to the GPT store for all I know, and you just don't know it. And then you're like prompting it with proprietary information. God knows where that's going.
People have to pay, I assume, to be in there, or they promise to pay a percentage of whatever revenue they drive, right?
They do. They get, GPT or OpenAI is promising to pay the developers a percentage. The apps that I tried out were all free until they weren't,
Yeah, right.
And then I'm using the GPT Pro version, the $20 a month version. I don't know. I'm not the other thing that I found was the interface was clunky to me. They listed like popular apps in like a half a dozen categories, like productivity and programming. But then after those dozen apps, you're on your own. And one of the problems I found with it is just, it's kind of like Steve Jobs said back in the day, like people don't know what they want until you give it to them, and I don't really know what I want. Like, what problem am I trying to solve? Why am I here? Like, you got this blank screen, like query for a GPT app. And I'm like, okay, well, what app do I need? Actually, I don't know. So I like OpenAI needs to do a better job, addressing the fact that I'm an idiot and don't know what I want. So it should be giving me more help.
Actually, you do know what you want. You're out there to explore. You want to find what exists and what you don't know about, but think you should know about. And I think you found the answer, which is, not much. It's not there yet.
Not much. It's just not ready yet. It's not there yet. But again, we're having this conversation, it's the beginning of March. So it's only been around for less than 2 months. So, give it time. I get that. But I am just saying, like, but I'm trying to provide a service to my readers to say, like, listen, you're running businesses. You only have a minimum amount of time in the day. So you want to, so I wouldn't waste too much of your time on this right now. I would wait until it matures more. And that could take 6 months to a year. And then I think you can start digging into seeing if there's applications. The cream will rise to the top, just like in the App Store,
Let me ask you this. I know one of the things that people are anticipating is that they will be able to sort of create their own version of this with their own data. So, for example, you're a CRM expert, you teach, you have trainings, you could create something that people who are interested in learning more about CRM would come to your version of an AI app. Does the store offer the ability to do that?
No, the store does not offer that. I mean, yeah, somebody can create that and then people can use it. I don't want to say the store doesn't offer that capability. I guess it does. What's going to be better, Lauren, is like what Microsoft just announced 2 weeks ago. So they're making now their OneDrive storage available for their Copilot app. And what that means is, say you're a business and say you're a Microsoft shop, and all of your files and documents and PDFs and, everything you've got is in OneDrive for your company. You know what I mean? And ultimately it'll be your emails too. Microsoft is basically saying you can now, have an application, like a Copilot chat with your data in OneDrive. So you can be like, we're thinking we're doing it. We're proposing on a job, and it's similar to a job that we did 2 years ago. What job was that? What were the specs? What was the price? You can like ask it, and it's like going into your whole OneDrive and finding, what matches and coming back to you in a conversational way. Do you know what I mean?
I see.
And that's huge. And it'll also connect ultimately to your emails as well. So you can ask questions. So it's ultimately where Microsoft and Google are going, is that if you're using Google, for example, you've got Gmail and Sheets and Docs and, Presents and, your meeting. All that data will then create your own large language model for your company. And then Google is giving you this interface with Gemini or Duet, it's called, where you can start asking questions. And then you can make some of it public facing if you want as well, so that customers on your website can ask questions, and it's using all the data in your company for that large language model. So I think that's going to be what most businesses will do rather than using ChatGPT. That's my guess.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you warned us a month or two ago that Copilot isn't quite ready for prime time either.
It is not ready for prime time either.
Okay.
But like ChatGPT, it's going to get better, but no, Copilot definitely has a way to go as well. It's just, there's so much hype about this stuff, and I don't want to like throw cold water on it because it is really important. And
you are providing a service. I think nobody needs to be convinced, or I don't know, nobody. A few people need to be convinced anymore that this stuff is real and that it's going to have a huge impact. But we're all trying to figure it out, and I think we all appreciate you're going out there and exploring and figuring out what's not ready and what might be ready.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm using Forbes as my platform to do that. And when I'm speaking, I speak to all these different groups around the country. And if I'm speaking to a room full of people in the distribution industry or manufacturers or construction, what I want to do is I want to be like, hey guys, you don't have to spend all the time figuring out what applications are going to, or how AI is going to impact your business. Here's the applications you want to be focusing. I did the work for you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is valuable. I really do, because there's a lot of noise out there.
Trust me, Gene, we appreciate it. Next topic. You also wrote recently about a very different topic, business owners and divorce. You wrote recently, you talked about the issue and how challenging it can be, obviously for anybody, but especially for business owners. Tell us why. Although I think many people can guess.
Well, first of all, Lauren, let me just say that, you're a business owner. I don't think I've ever met your wife, but it seems like you guys have a very long...
I don't think you have.
No, you have an excellent relationship, and you better be damn grateful for it. Go and get that woman some flowers, because she divorces you, and it is hell. And if you are... I spoke to a couple of divorce attorneys, and, for people that run businesses and then they have to go through a divorce... it is a nightmare. And let me give you some of the things you don't think about. Like, for example, you run a small business, you run a business. We can all admit we run stuff through our companies. Sometimes it's, dubious, if it should be.
Speak for yourself, Gene.
Right. People take the expenses and they get a little aggressive and all that. Well, if you do that, and again, you're not alone. Like, most of my clients do that. It's not uncommon. But and then you go through a divorce. Holy moly! I mean, because your spouse will likely know about it, and then an aggressive attorney will start digging in there and really making your life miserable. So one piece of advice is, if you think you're going to get, if things are rocky in your relationship and there could be a divorce in the future, your books better be squeaky clean or else you're really going to be at a disadvantage. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, you said, I think your point is well taken. The one thing I was going to ask you is, you said that most of your clients are, I don't know exactly how you would characterize it, but might have concerns on this front. Is it really most?
Oh, no. If I said that, I misspoke.
Not divorce, but books where they're pushing it a little bit is what I mean.
Yeah. I would say most of my clients run stuff through their businesses that might be questionable or not. And I'm not saying they're doing it with criminal intent or anything like that. Sometimes it's just sloppy accounting. You know what I mean? Like, they have all their personal and business expenses kind of thrown together.
You're a CPA. What do you say to them when you see this?
Well, I mean, you have to like wag your finger and say you got to keep it separate and you shouldn't be doing this and whatever. And they're like, yeah, I agree and you're right, but well, I'll do better. You know what I mean? So it's not, I don't know. And then you run through costs, or you don't allocate costs that are non-business out of your business frequently enough. I mean, we have like in my company, because my wife is like just way more ethical than I'll ever be, and she has our bookkeeper send her my company's credit card.
She's prepared for that divorce too, huh?
Yeah, she tells the bookkeeper, no, this and this were personal expenses, because I just have my card set up with all of our accounts and whatever, so I'm not really tracking. I'm just using the card. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff goes on all the time, and I do it too, and. So yeah, my wife definitely knows where the skeletons are buried. That would be a problem. That'd be a problem. So anyway, so other things in that article, I talked about like getting an arbitrator. People really recommended the divorce attorneys, particularly an arbitrator that is familiar with your industry, because they can help more with valuation or figuring out. Answering questions. A lot of times people give up because judges don't know an industry well enough so that they rule sometimes to the detriment of the business owner because they don't understand a concept. So that's another thing, because it's, you're valuing your business. The other thing I think is really important is if you have partners, I mean, you really need to have a partner agreement if you have external partners or internal partners, or a buy-sell agreement, because that's a major headache. And if you're a partner in a business, you have to make sure that your other partners, there's a buy-sell agreement, because if another partner is going through a divorce, it affects your whole business, because then you've got like an attorney requesting data and information and documents, and God forbid, suddenly the spouse is involved in the management of your business because of, you guys didn't think ahead. So have a buy-sell agreement, and then make sure that a buy-sell agreement has stipulations. What happens when a partner leaves the business? They die or get hit by lightning or want to be bought out, or they get divorced. It takes into account all that stuff, and it gives you a roadmap as to what to do in that situation. So very, very much recommend doing that.
One thing that occurred to me reading your piece is that it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, all of this is equally true if you're talking about a marriage where both spouses work in the business, or if only one works in the business. Is that right?
Yeah, it's equally true. I mean, in the end, you're going to get a valuation of the business, and then assets have to be divided up. And, both spouses work in the business. Maybe there's a way to work it out and you keep the business and the personal different, but oh my God, what a nightmare.
Well, that's the one thing that I thought is different. At least if they're not in the same business, then you've got one ongoing means of support there. If they're both in the same business and the divorce hurts the business, they're both going to get hurt by that.
They are. I agree. And by the way, you talk about ongoing support, which is also important to recognize. Remember, say you own your business and your business is worth $1,000 and your spouse is entitled to 50% of your assets. So you've got to you've got to pay that spouse $500, So a lot of times people don't have that cash lying around. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a difference in the valuation of your business and how much cash you have in your business.
A big difference.
Yeah. And that gets back to the buy-sell agreement, because remember that could be a big drain on the business operations. And if you have partners, they'll be like, oh my God. So if you have a buy-sell agreement, they usually stipulate that you have insurance for stuff like this. So the insurance payment can go out. But if you get a bank loan, and you have to collateralize your assets, your business, to pay off your spouse, now you're paying down the bank loan, and that has a significant impact on your cash flow in your business. So all of these things have to be thought out in advance. Nobody likes to think about this kind of stuff, but it just turns into a nightmare if you don't think about it in advance.
It's such a nightmare that it makes me think that there must be couples out there who are staying together, not for the kids, but for the business.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very possible that that's the case. You definitely know there are people out there that are staying together because they're kids. I mean, we've seen lots of them.
But this is kind of, this isn't as emotional as the kids, but it's emotional, and it's also, how people live. If you both work in the business and you're not sure the business will survive a divorce, maybe you stay together. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, The Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can also hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. This episode was brought to you by The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses use an open book management system to help build healthier companies. You can learn more at greatgame.com. Thanks, Gene.
Thank you, Lauren.
Have a great week, everybody.